presenting Mr. Scott Stowell.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Hi. My name's Scott. See? I come from New York City. I have a design studio there called Open. And we're a small studio. We do all kinds of things. I'll show you some here tonight and tell you some stories about the work as well. We have a little motto in our studio called Design for People, which was set up very nicely by the talk before me. And what that means is, of course, we all here as designers do work for people, I hope. But what we do is try to keep in mind the end user, the person who's really reading or looking at or using the things that we make. And sometimes the client doesn't think about that first. They think about their needs, and we get into a difficulty where we have to think about the end users. So we see ourselves as the defenders of those end users. So we do all kinds of things. Magazines and logos, the usual stuff, printed matter, signage, graphics for television, illustrations, motion graphics, short films, and even advertising once in a while. But this talk has a theme. I'm just going to show you a few projects. And oh, sorry, I forgot about this slide. I always show this slide. This is everyone who ever worked for me in the studio. So all the work I just showed you and all the work I'm going to show you wouldn't exist without all these people. So just memorize the list. Done? Okay, great. So like I said, the talk has a theme, which is pay attention. So this has three meanings. One, please do. Second, when we're doing our work, we like to pay very close attention to the content, sometimes making the content, so that we can put in little details, whether it's extra levels or stories or jokes or whatever, for the end user, again, to be rewarded if they pay attention. And then, by the same token, when we're doing our work and opportunities come along that might lead to something else, it's important to really pay attention to see how one thing can lead to the next thing and how someone you might meet at a conference might turn into a friend or a project 10 years from now. So, I'll start with this message slip. Anyone who's involved with this conference planning knows that I don't return phone calls very quickly. And I'm sorry for that. But this was a call I got 5 years ago. It says, Casey from Good Magazine. And I thought, oh, it's a really good magazine. Like, which magazine is it? And of course, it was a magazine called Good, which didn't exist yet. It was started by some guys in California, some young people, and they called it the magazine for people who give a damn. And really, it was still is, a lifestyle magazine for people that want to change the world. And they came to us with an idea and some content and a logo, and nothing else. So it was our job to make the graphic design of the whole magazine, and we did that for 3 years. We did information graphics. There's Hillary Clinton and Rick Santorum in their political NASCAR suits. Every issue of Good has a theme, and all the articles inside fit inside that theme. The first one you saw was a sort of patriotism. This one was the media. It had, you know, the usual fun stuff like trading cards of media moguls like Martha Stewart, Silvio Berlusconi. This is what the kids are into these days, I'm told. Like I said, every issue has a theme, so we would create all these sort of little design elements for that theme, little logos and color palettes and so on, and on the spines of the magazine there are these quotes that all say good in them. We would pick them, and I found myself typesetting one of them one night for issue 5, the 5th one you see here. And you maybe don't notice it, but all of these things are in, the names are in Roman type, and I made a mistake and set it in italic type and sent it off, and of course approved it myself, and then it came back from the printer, and it's the only one that was wrong. So I asked them in the next issue if we could run a correction. So the editor said, yeah, sure, I guess. Do you do that? Yeah, you do that. So we said, sorry, on the spine of issue 5, Abraham Lincoln's name was typeset incorrectly. It should have been in Roman, not italics. Which I can imagine is the weirdest correction the readers had ever seen. The nice thing about it was that it ended up in issue 6, which was all about design, and we had the chance to guest edit this issue. And so maybe by seeing that, someone would understand how choices lead to how things look or mistakes, and then maybe learn something about design. The cover star of this issue of Good was the AK-47 assault rifle, which is the world's most popular firearm. It's sleek and beautiful in its own way and well-produced, and like I said, very popular, but its only purpose is to kill people very efficiently. So it raises the question, what is good design? We didn't really answer it, we just gave a lot of possibilities. It also ended up in the wrong section of the newsstand. This is real. This is at the train station in New York. I love that they must have gotten at least one accidental reader. So here you see the inside. Also in every issue of Good were information graphics. They still are, and we were lucky to do some of them ourselves. This piece shows how many women are heads of state in the world, which is a slight discrepancy between how many women are world leaders and how many women there are in the world by population, you can see. Each pixel indicates 1 million people governed by that woman. This page is about public toilets. We don't have many of them in New York. In fact, we had none when we did this piece. So you'll see the public toilet there is the lamppost outside our studio. And then the lines of people they represent the number of people in that city divided by the number of toilets, and therefore how many people you have to wait in line behind to use the toilet. On the right here you see walls throughout history, like the Berlin Wall, the Gaza Strip and West Bank barriers, and the US-Mexico border fence. They're drawn to scale. Of course, the length doesn't fit on the page, so we showed them in terms of food items. So the Berlin Wall was, of course, as we all know, 900,000 bratwurst long. 19 million falafel make the Gaza Strip barriers. And of course, the US-Mexico border fence is planned to be over 7 million tacos long. This one's a bit more serious. This was a comic strip we made about the situation in Darfur. And this happened because the editors asked us to do something, and we tried maps and diagrams and realized that just explaining the situation and putting it in the mouths of seemingly regular people was the best way to explain it to each other. And at the end, you realize that not only do you understand it, but you understand how far away you are from it and how you can't really do much about it. Second project I have for you is a signage program that started here. This is the Brooklyn waterfront in New York City. This area in the front was the Port of New York for many years, and those buildings and warehouses had been abandoned for decades until recently, when they decided to make a public park out of it. And the client that was involved with the project was a client of mine many years ago and called me and said, could you make a big sign to hang on the building that says park coming soon? You know, like with the mayor's name on it and stuff. And I said, maybe, but could we try something else? And the project was controversial because it was partially paid for with private development money because there was not enough tax money to pay for it. So we researched the controversy, and instead of doing a sign, we did a website that explained the story of the park, and then hired these guys, amazing, to paint this right on the warehouse. This was being done over a holiday weekend, and one of the designers from my studio was supervising it and called me and said, you have to get down here right away, we're going to get fired. Why? Just get down here. So I got down, and they had painted this. Now, the typographically inclined in the room might notice something wrong with the G on the end there, which is a little weird. They knocked it down, thought it aligned differently. Anyway, I went there, and the painter said, oh, we could just paint it over silver again, and then we'll just paint a new G, no problem. And of course, we were obsessed with the fact that the type was painted right on the surface and showing the history and layers of the building. So there's this non-smoking sign, no smoking sign there, with faded paint on it where the G just interacted with it perfectly, and we didn't want to ruin that. So we sat there, the three of us, the painter, my designer, and me, on the pier and redesigned this letter form and had them repaint it. And then, of course, we had to go back. There it is at the opening with our mayor. And then, of course, we had to go back and fix our logo to make it match the sign. Because, of course, we intended it all along. But I love this kind of thing. Again, paying attention, because this circumstance, this collection of moments or constraints will never happen again and never happened before. This went back on the website, then that led to other work, like their identity and another website, and the signage for the park itself, which now we'll be busy with until 2014, and which we had no idea how to do before we refused to make a big sign that said, "Park coming soon." Another signage job is at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. They have this building, which is the brutalist type building from the late 60s, early 70s, that was not well loved. And they were making part of it into a student center where you could go and work 24 hours a day with your friends. And it was our job to do the signage. So you can see there was some cool signage in the building from before. This one's funny. That tape covers a sign that says "Smokers Reading Room." It's a bit funnier back home than here, maybe, but they had not been smoking in that library for many years. And it was our job to make the signage. We made the same sort of old futuristic signage, like what the future looked like in the past. Just like the building. There were some jokes and some funny signs. But then we expanded the project. Oh, that's the Smokers Lounge, is the Quiet Study Lounge now. And we expanded the scope of the project. We wanted to get the community involved and also the people that would be using the center itself. So we had the idea to put images and text from the library system on the wall of the center. We put out a call for entries and said to the faculty, staff, alumni, students of the university, if you know something in the library that you want to celebrate, an image or some text, just send it to us, give us the catalog number, and we'll put it on the wall. So we silk screened on these concrete walls. That's a slinky toy under the stairs. That's a pair of pants from medieval times. That's a diagram I don't understand. That's Raphael's School of Athens as a paint-by-number diagram. These were all contributed, so it was nice we didn't have to pick them ourselves. This is a bar chart from a sociological study of high school students in the 1970s, where they were asked, what drugs do you take and how high do you get? And then we marked objects, a fire extinguisher, the inside of the stall in the bathroom, the windows, and so on. This is a logo project for a society that fights a disease called multiple sclerosis. It's a degenerative neurological disease that causes paralysis and often death as a result of paralysis. The agency we were working with had written this sort of strategy that they wanted the society to be more about celebrating movement than fighting one disease. And they wanted it to be very democratic and inclusive. They have a tagline, "Join the movement," which I love. So our logo started with the idea of what is a visual movement? It's a drawing, a children's drawing, a fine art drawing, graffiti, which is a kind of message in drawing form. And the simplest way to fight something with a drawing is to cross it out. But if every person were to cross this out in their own way, every time it would look different. And the more you see it, you realize it's not just about fighting this thing, but it's about celebrating movement in all its forms. It was released at a conference where all the attendees could make their own marks. A proofreader's joke here, I think. Scribbling, writing. There's another type joke up there, or a French person. Or both. And all of these, to me, are valid expressions of the identity of the society. It's a human person making a gesture to fight it. A year later, after doing the main logo, they came back to us and asked us to do identities for their biking and walking events, which is how they raise money. And I was stumped until one of the designers in the office came up with an idea. He said, "Oh, just do it with a bike." What? I don't know what that means. So I'll make it, don't worry. And we went back to the studio and he did this. Which is so obvious I couldn't think of it. And now all of you just designed the walkathon logo. It's this. It took months of negotiating what kind of shoes would be in it. But to be serious for a moment, when you go to one of these events now, you see these people wearing these shirts, and you're in the walkathon, and you have the physical sensation of becoming a part of this graphic gesture that is fighting the thing that it's conceptually crossing out. So I hate to say it's moving, but it is, to be a part of that project. A little bit less serious. we got a call based on our work for good. They had heard about it and seen some of the other work that we had done. And we got a call from a place in New Orleans called Naked Pizza. And actually, before that, they were called World's Healthiest Pizza, which I like to call world's worst name for a pizza place. But they changed their name, and they're really interesting because they're making food. They were founded by two guys. One of them is a kind of food mad scientist who wants to create different kind of diverse grain combinations and make us healthier, but do it in a form that is friendly and accessible, like pizza. The other founder is a marketing guy who's very smart and very interested in doing new things in a new way. Like, for instance, they do most of their communications through social networking. So on Twitter, for instance, they have, I don't know, lots of followers. So they consider themselves to be all about sharing. And what I love is that pizza itself is geometrically designed for sharing. It's like you're sitting around a campfire. I was so happy that they didn't have rectangular pizza when we had this idea. But so pizza itself is a kind of social activity that you share, and more so back home where the pizzas are sort of 2 meters across, but you get the idea. They had a logo already, which was this. We looked at this and said, that A isn't just an A, that's a slice of pizza. And we can put it together and make a whole pizza. And then we can take that pizza and make a graphic language that talks about the purity of the ingredients that are used in the food, like the vegetables and so on. And of course, these poor, cute animals that are so delicious on the pizza. This was done intentionally to make it less abstract. Children, for instance, think meat comes from the styrofoam factory or something, or certainly just from the supermarket. So this way you see where it comes from. The fourth one there, in case you're wondering, was pepperoni. It's half beef, half pork. It was rejected as being too weird. So now it's a red pig with a little star next to it, may contain beef. We're doing pizza boxes for them, which is the way they communicate with people, is through the box. Their menus, of course, very simple, a website. T-shirts, we can't resist the joke. Every time they open a store, they say, I can get naked in Miami. Pizza. Advertising, store design. They're a really great client because, like Good Magazine, they've never done this before. They don't know how it's supposed to be done, and neither do we. So we collaborate really closely on everything, and we say, can we come up with an idea for what goes on the glass in front of the store? And they say, sure, then I guess someone will have done it. So let's get it done. There's the store design. This is a thing that's really interesting. This is the design for the motorcycle delivery guy's suit for their locations in Dubai. So they're expanding now across America, and they'll have locations in many other countries. You notice the logo is different here. In Dubai, they're not really into saying naked all the time. So there were a lot of jokes around the office about this, but then they decided to do this sort of censored version where people would know what it meant if they know what it meant, and that would be okay. And we just said, can we make the delivery guy look like Batman or something? Because we thought it would be cool. And that had a consequence that we didn't expect, and you'll see in a minute. Of course, this guy doesn't exist in the Dubai locations, but he has a friend, the turkey. Here's the Dubai location, and here's some looks at them around the country, different locations. For us to do, here we go. For us to do all these different parts is a new thing, and to do something at a high level where the client wants interesting work, but it's for regular people, and they cost the same as the really bad pizza places to get a pizza. It's like $6 or something. So here's the Batman pizza guy in real life. And the thing is, I mean, I'm sure it's the same. Here he is. It looks cool. In New York, anyway, when you order food to be delivered, normally it's a young person, a recent immigrant. Maybe they're an undocumented immigrant bringing you your food. Maybe they know English, maybe they don't. But people tend to talk to these guys, and they're nice to them and hopefully give them a tip and so on. And from what I heard in Dubai, the people that are these immigrants that do this kind of work are basically in an entirely separate social caste, and people don't even look at them, much less talk to them. And there are so many regulations on how they have to live and how they have to work that it's really a tough job, and they really are kind of put down by the system. And what we found is by giving these guys these kind of badass suits, they're taking pride in being a delivery guy. And they're all recent immigrants from India and Pakistan, which is cool, working together to deliver pizza. And they have a sense of dignity in this job that they wouldn't if it was sort of undesigned or crappy looking in some way. And it's not to make too much of it, but when we heard that story, we were really proud that our dumb joke of making a cool suit turned into something that could make someone else feel good. And that's really part of everything Naked Pizza wants to do. This is my favorite thing we've done, which I love these things where you can make something funny, you can make something surprising, but at the same time it's useful because maybe you do have something on your face. So one quick last thing to show. We got a call last year from this company, maybe you've heard of them. They're a popular internet search company. And I'm sure most people here have used Google Apps and so on, sharing online to collaborate. And Google was making a push to sell this service or promote this service to nonprofit clients. And they wanted our help to create a campaign for that, again, based on the work that we had done with Good. In fact, they wanted to call the service Google for Good. And we dissuaded them from that. A, because we have another client called Good, but that's not really the reason. The reason is that Google is neutral about its content. I asked them, I said, if I had a nonprofit organization that was promoting racism or ruining the environment, could I still use your service? And they said, they were a little uncomfortable, but they said, well, yes, actually you could. Because we don't make a judgment about the point of view of who uses our services. So I said, you can't call it Google for Good, because someone will say, well, you think that's good. It's not about being good, it's about changing things. Everyone who works for a nonprofit organization wants to change something. They want to change the world. And our point of view for this campaign was, you may want to change the world in some serious, lofty way, but in order to do that, you have to change the stupid thing on your computer that doesn't work when you try to upload the file and send it to the guy, or whatever it is. So you have to change these small things that you need to change before you can change the things that you want to change. So I have a quick little video just to show the campaign we made, and then I'm just about done. So you saw in there a oh, thank you. It's 5 slides, 5 seconds. Come on. Everyone claps for videos. Okay, wait, put it back.
That means
Please.
you don't set the record then, you know, because you went over time.
I-
Please do it. Show him.
Okay,
Show him.
Please put me back on the screen. I just wanted to point out that there was a website as part of this that we made, and on there you can see all the changes that people have made as a result of the tools, as a result of the campaign that we did. Brought broadband internet to Haiti, helped homeless people, brought medicine to Libyan hospitals, protected acres of rainforest, resolved human-elephant conflicts. I don't know about that. But anyway, my point being is that I said to Klaus before the talk that I was very proud to be a designer, and I'm proud to be a designer to work with an organization, or any organization, that their job is to help people, that their job is to change the world. So we can help that process happen because I got that phone call 5 years ago and I was paying attention. So I hope you do the same. Thanks.
Okay. First, I'm going to read a compliment by Twitter. Perhaps you've read it already.
No.
From Class X Day. Simple gestures and discoveries for clients that don't know how it's supposed to be done. Is that true?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to insult our clients. I think that it's nice when people don't have a preconception of how things, are supposed to be done. That doesn't look like a pizza box. Magazines aren't supposed to be like that. If they can have an open mind, and sometimes that comes from a lack of experience, that's nice, but also sometimes it comes from just being a smart person who's confident and wants to do something new.
So a question I want to ask, and it's not about your work, but I see in this symposium so far not a lot of internet work and a lot of printed work, shirts, pizza boxes, cyclists. Is this a coincidence or is it?
I can't speak for everybody else, but it's more fun to show T-shirts than websites.
Is it more fun to design T-shirts than websites?
Well, I mean, I guess you kind of have to say yes, but I think that...
And is it more relevant to design a pizza box instead of a website?
No, maybe not. I don't know, if you're ordering a pizza, maybe it is. I think that if I want to have a pizza and a guy shows up in a Batman suit with a box, that's way more relevant than a website. But I will say that, I mean, we do some web work, not as much as others. And I do think that this, no matter how much you do, this kind of venue, it's hard to tell those stories. Interactive work is really complicated. And I think you could spend half an hour just showing one website, and it could be really fascinating. But it's not always what people do. So I think it skews it a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.